Hi there, wherever you are in this wonderful world. Good evening, good day, good afternoon, and good morning. And I'm with the wonderful Sally Estlin once again.
Hey Harry, how are you? Hi everyone, Sally Estlin down in Melbourne, holistically fit specialist.
And I'm Harry, the learning difficulty expert. And I get you out of the overwhelm into the guilt free parenting you so deserve. But today we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about something,
Ooh,
it's trendy. You may have heard of it, you may not. It's called the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. And I know you're very interested in it, Sally.
I am, and it's been a really good topic to do a bit more research behind because it's not that well known here in Australia because it's originated from the States. And what was the group? It's called the Environmental Working Group in the States. Actually, put this sort of list together, and every year they review it and they bring it out. But it's really interesting to see the concepts behind it. They're basically looking at fruit and veggies that the most sprayed or the most amount of toxic pesticides, herbicides, all those sort of things that are most dangerous to eat as they are if you're just buying them from the supermarket, heavily sprayed, for example, versus those that, if you can't afford organic or whatever, are probably the cleanest choices when it comes to fruit and veggies. And it's been a really interesting eye-opener to me with some of the things that I came across. So
Yeah, like strawberries.
strawberries was my number one thing. That's apparently hit the list for the first time. It used to be apples, and strawberries are right up the top. Yeah, so researching this, as I said, it originated, the research is done in the States, and, we've got our own food standards group here, the food standards for Australia and New Zealand, and they do their own testing on different fruits and veggies and spraying and that sort of thing. Don't put together a list per se. And also the standards here and the pesticides and things used here in Australia can be quite different to what's used in the States. But it's as a generic sort of, guide, if you like, to what can be safe and what should be, cautious of. I think it's an awesome topic to delve into. Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, it's a good start. I mean, I grow strawberries, and I noticed that if I pick them in the garden
Yep.
and bring them up into the kitchen, we have a half each, it's democracy. If some of them are left, the next day, they're often mouldy. The
Yeah.
next day.
Well,
Now
that's a
you buy
good sign, isn't it? Because you
You
think
buy them from the supermarket, they don't go mouldy in a week. What does that tell you?
it tells me, alarm bells.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, I must admit, it was many, many years ago I got into organic food, and it was the fruit. It was the peaches. It was my first peach that I tried that was organic. I was in my 20s, and I've gone, this tastes so good. I didn't think peaches could taste like that, and that was my
Mm.
first introduction. And then I tried carrots, and I've gone, whoa, just completely different taste. So,
Mm.
in an ideal world, we'd all be eating organic and eating fresh and local, but it's not always possible with where we're situated, cost-wise and all that sort of stuff. So, we're discussing this topic today to sort of be a guide towards when you are shopping and making your choices, which ones to be more particular about than others, I'd say.
Yeah, what to avoid? How to target your organic budget, whatever size that is.
Yeah,
That's the purpose of the guide.
yeah,
And it
absolutely.
is just a guide. It's not 100% relevant. It's not 100% accurate for Australia.
No, I mean, in the States, they're looking at pesticides, because it can induce, there's so many implications or complications related to ongoing use of pesticides and fungicides and herbicides, with that toxicity accumulating in the body over time, and, all the brain issues that it's related to. What is it? Complications, neurodevelopment, behavioural problems, birth defects, asthma, cancer, all that sort of stuff, all connected.
Well,
Mm.
I can share my life experience. When I was a kid in the 50s and I went to school, maybe I wasn't the most observant human on the planet, but
Yeah.
I don't remember anybody having an asthma attack. I
Mm.
don't remember anybody having autism. I don't remember having anybody being allergic to any foodstuffs or
Mm.
coming out in hives or having an attack of this, that, or the other. We went out on lots of excursions and none of that stuff happens. Now, I've got friends and family who are teachers. They cannot go on a school excursion without an asthma pack because they know there's going to be an asthma attack.
Oh, the EpiPen, the whole EpiPen thing.
So why are these kids failing? Well, we don't know exactly, but the foodstuffs, contaminated foodstuffs, it's got to be one reason.
Absolutely, absolutely. Even when I was growing up, veggie gardens, people had bigger backyards. And, my grandfather, every morning, 6 o'clock, would go out there and, hoe away in the veggie patches. And, every year when the strawberries were ready, oh, my gosh, it was the best. And raspberries, oh, my God, the raspberries were awesome.
It's not too late, Sally. Look, I can order a 10-ton truck to fill up your swimming pool and you can have a veggie garden again.
Oh, yeah, get rid of the swimming pool. That is just, absolutely, I'd second that one. That's awesome. And you do your own compost, don't you? You've done it.
I do, yeah, I think everybody should. There's no excuse for not doing your own compost. Number one, why would you want to throw away organic waste? And number two, even if you've only got an apartment, you can put it in a pot. You can grow little cherry tomatoes. You can grow basil. You can grow herbs.
Yeah, all
stuff like that. Yeah. And they can make such a difference to the taste of a meal. Just grow a bit of oregano, rosemary, thyme. They're bulletproof.
Some chilies out the back, some limes, lemons.
Yeah.
Go well with your gin and tonic, Harry.
Exactly, yeah. Well, I've got a lime tree now you come to mention it.
Yeah, the important things. Now, look, I've researched lots and lots of the lists of what's out and what's in and what's not.
Good.
So the Dirty Dozen generally what's come through, and some of these have been tweaked for Australia, so, I'll probably add some more on at the end, but top of the list of the Dirty Dozen was strawberries. And I've got stats to go next to it, but a third of all conventional strawberry samples contain 10 or more pesticides, while one sample had a whopping 22 pesticide residues. Strawberries, it's huge. It's huge. So one thing to be wary of. Spinach. Now, that was another thing, because spinach it's sort of like, the in thing here. Stick it in your shakes and your NutriBullet. It's really good for the leafy greens, all that sort of stuff. 97% of conventional spinach samples contain pesticides.
What about silver beet?
Wasn't
it's very similar nutritionally.
Well, what, as an alternative to spinach? Yeah.
Yeah, as an alternative, yeah.
When what about the kale and the bok choys and choy sum and all that sort of stuff? I like that.
Kale. I'm not into kale. Sorry. Very trendy.
You stick them in the oven with a little bit of sea salt over the top. My kids love it. They crunch up and they're crunchy. It's good.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we have to come up and show me how to do it. So
well, what I actually do is I stick all the greens into the Thermomix and mix it all up, and then I stick it into stuff, and the kids don't know it's in there. It's fantastic. Yeah. Puree it all up. It's the best. Okay, nectarines, another one. All those sort of, about 94% of them show 2 or more pesticides.
Organic nectarines taste so good.
So good.
Juice running down your side of your mouth.
Yeah, look it up. Apples have been usually top of the list for a very long time. 90% of them have got pesticides. Grapes, another big one. Peaches, cherries. Whoa, cherries. And
any stone fruits, it seems to be a bit suspect.
Yeah, pears. And then we look at tomatoes. Now, tomatoes are another common household item. Like most people buy tomatoes. Yeah. And on average, nearly 4 pesticides were detected on conventionally grown tomatoes. So, yeah, it's up there. And then a huge one was celery. 95% of them showed pesticides.
Well, I can tell you, when I try and grow celery, it looks nothing like what you buy in the shops.
Oh, yeah.
Pathetic.
Yeah. But that's the way you want it, baby. And you can use it in your stocks. It's fantastic in your bone broth and stuff. Doesn't matter what it looks like, if it's good quality. Potatoes are another one. Sorry, go ahead.
You send me the link for that source if you could. I'll put it in the blog.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Potatoes, yeah, I said that, and capsicums. Capsicums, 90% of those showed. Now, when I look at the Australian, I was researching Aussie input versus the states one. Cabbage came up. Lettuce was quite high. Tomatoes, mushrooms. I think we
Yep.
said nectarines, didn't we? Cucumbers. And I'm a bit surprised at oranges because oranges have skins on them. But
I'm surprised too.
so, you know, maybe that's
At
the
least,
debatable one.
at least you can peel them.
Yes, that's right. Culinary herbs, as you were talking about herbs once again. Blueberries also are quite sus here. And broccoli. Now, it's funny because broccoli is on a clean 15 list, I found, but here in Australia, it popped up a number of times, broccoli. So I'm not sure about, you know, the source of that. And asparagus. And so they were sort of add-ons that I found for here. And then when we look at the clean 15, top of the list was avocado.
The other one I had before you get onto that was wheat.
Oh, right, yes, yep.
That was number 2 on my lists after apples.
Yeah. Yeah, it didn't come up, but absolutely wheat, and particularly in the States. But that's we've spoken about this before with gluten.
Well, this is the Australian list, you know, and it came up number 2.
Oh, great. So yours has got, apples, wheat, strawberries, pears, grapes, lettuce, nectarines, peaches, bread. Oh, yeah, what's under bread? Can't quite read that one. Bread.
After bread was bran.
Oh, bread and biscuits. Yeah.
That's from Friends of the Earth. It was a 2011 study.
Right. Well, these ones I've got are 2018. This one's Australian oznaturalcare.com.au for the Australian one that I'm reading out now. And then the clean 15 that they had listed. Avocados.
Those, that's good.
Yep. I mean, as we said, anything where you can peel it, you're a bit safer. Sweet corn was another big one. Pineapples. Now, this is interesting because this one says cabbages, whereas I found on another Australian list it had cabbages on the dirty dozen. So, you know, maybe put that with a question mark and try for organic there. Onions, another clean 15. And sweet peas that are frozen. So, sweet peas frozen. Papayas. Now, this is another interesting one. Asparagus came up on this list, whereas it came up as a dirty dozen on another. Mangoes, once again, it's something with a skin that you can peel off. Eggplants, honeydew melon, which, once again, a big, thick skin. Kiwi fruit, rock melon or cantaloupe. Now, cauliflower also came up. And see, on this one, broccoli was okay. So what are your thoughts on broccoli and cauliflower? I try organic when I can for those two.
Yeah, look, I've tried to grow them. I don't think my soil's good enough. They're heavy feeders, so.
Right.
I don't know.
That's another one here.
We need a philanthropist to fund a good study, don't we?
We do, don't we? So we said sweet corn, pineapple, cabbage, onions, mango, eggplant. Yeah, that's the same list. So that's the Australian version that included on the Clean 15 cauliflower and broccoli. So
at this point, I'm going to go out and bring something in that's very exciting.
Ooh, drum roll, please.
This is our little box which gets filled up every week with organics. Fantastic. And there's a wonderful girl who manages this at a place called Arc Organics. But in every town there is a place that does home delivery if you can't get to a farmer's market.
Yep.
And they're quite reasonable, $40 a week. And if you go out and buy coffee every day, it's not much more than that.
And, you're doing good for your body and not so much now.
Tastes great.
Oh, it tastes so much better. And then
the other thing about...
Sorry.
Yeah, the other thing about organic is because it's not force-fed, it's more nutrient-dense and there's less water in it. So you get fuller quicker on, the carrot or whatever it is.
And then, as you said, you can compost and then add that to the soil. If you can grow your own, even if it's just herbs, doesn't matter.
Definitely.
Yeah, so I did a little, it's hard to see my model, but a few little.
Hold it up. I'm excited. Let's see your model.
There's my model at the top. It's very difficult to read. So I'll point it out. If you do 3 circles,
Okay.
one of them, I put avoid. Now, it's not in palette, but it will do.
Good.
Avoid pesticides, chemicals, sprays wherever possible. And then eat local fresh fruit and veggies, organic if you can. And then appreciate the quality of the food that you are putting in your mouth and the choices of food that you're making. So if you avoid, chemically sprayed foods, pesticides, that sort of thing, and eat local fresh fruit and organic if possible, you're going to have a much happier gut. You won't be sort of so inflamed. And then if you're eating, organic and fresh fruit and veggies, and then appreciate the quality of the food that you're having, your body will be loving you for it and be thriving on the inside. And then once you appreciate, the food that you're eating and you're avoiding all those chemicals and pesticides and stuff, you're going to prevent the toxic buildup over in your body, and overall you're going to have long-term health and happiness.
Sure. Now, my concern mostly is children because they have immature immune systems.
Yep.
I'm just going to read out a quote. This is a quote from Dr. Philip Landrigan. He's a pediatrician and epidemiologist.
Yep.
Epidemiologist is somebody who studies the patterns of health and disease.
Right.
He's at Mount Sinai School of Medicine in New York, and this is a quote from him. Even low levels of pesticide exposure can be harmful to infants, babies, and young children. So when possible, parents and caregivers should take steps to lower children's exposure to pesticide while still feeding them diets rich in healthy fruits and vegetables. So the reason why we're having this whole discussion is because by avoiding those foods that are most contaminated, you can protect your children's long-term health and well-being.
Yeah.
And the problem is that even if some of these pesticides are put in with additives that make them stick to the fruit or the vegetables during rain. And so even if you wash them with vinegar, there's still going to be some left on the surface.
Yeah.
The other thing is that you can peel the fruit or vegetable, but most of the nutrient is just under the skin. So you're going to remove most of the nutrients.
Because I was reading about that, one recipe was 1 part vinegar to 4 parts water. But it's only taking the residue from the outside, and it's what's sucked into the fruit or the veggies as well, which is absorbed in. You can't stop that. But,
useless for strawberries because it's right through the whole fruit.
It's scary. I just didn't realise strawberries were that bad, but when you think about it. And then that would have to be similar for blueberries.
So the other thing is, and we've talked about this before in other topics, a lot of the pesticides, about half the pesticides used in Australia are also hormone disruptors.
Yes.
So what does this mean? What it means is they mimic the effect of things like estrogen and progesterone. And there's a recent study came out of Harvard earlier this year, which will be in my blog, and that suggests that typical exposure, so, just normal everyday exposure that you and I would have to pesticide residues on food is reducing fertility, both in males and females.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why people are struggling to have kids, why they're having to go to, expensive IVF. Cheaper to go organic than do IVF, and much more easy.
Yeah, yeah. It is frightening, the flow-on effects from this build-up of this chemical residue within the body, and it is frightening. But
women are having menopause now in their 20s.
In their 20s, absolutely, and we've discussed that before, and that is frightening. But also the neurodevelopment stuff that you're talking about in kids, and it is frightening, and it is a bit more serious than. It should be taken a lot more seriously than just saying, oh yeah, I understand it's got bad stuff on it, but what does the bad stuff do to you, and what's happening to your children, and what's going to happen long term? And so not just kids, as you say, for fertility. So, and then therefore what's it creating on the inside, the health of the body.
So there's some good news. Bring
it on, baby.
The Australian labelling legislation kicked in on the 1st of July.
Right.
And this now means that you've got more chance of knowing where the food comes from. Not complete yet, but more chance.
That's
And this
fantastic.
is relevant because according to the Friends of the Earth,
Yep.
the Chinese use 3 to 5 times as much pesticide per hectare as almost any other country on the planet.
Whoa.
The other country that uses a lot of pesticide is India.
Really?
The relevance for this is that if you don't know where your food's coming from, you don't know what to avoid. And so, for instance, we could have a fish, which you get anywhere, Woolies, Coles, Aldi.
Yeah.
It says packaged in New Zealand from local and imported ingredients. You don't actually know where it comes from.
Yeah. I just think it's so important when it comes to, the food like that in Coles or wherever. They label now if it's got imported bits in it, or if it is imported fish or whatever, or local, or so that you can start making choices based on information. Yeah, it's really important.
The other thing is that, and we've talked about this as well, that under the Australian labelling legislation, if a component of a food is under 5%, it doesn't have to be listed on the label.
Yeah.
So that's relevant. So it's all about reducing risk. It's all about the precautionary motive. If you have kids, you're feeding kids. And I'm not convinced, given that recent Harvard study, I'm not convinced that I'm not convinced that I'm protected by the current information that I've got. I think there are risks to health that we don't know about.
Yeah, totally. So therefore, at the end of the day, I had a few little steps. Fresh is best. Buy local and organic if you can. Avoid buying just from the supermarket the dirty dozen type fruit and veggies that we've suggested. Choose the clean 15 if you are sort of strapped for cash or you can't find these organically. And what did I say? Yeah, fresh, local, and organic. And wash your food if in doubt. So, it's better than nothing, and give it a go. But, yeah.
Definitely. So I would add to that, order a delivery box if you can't get to the farmers market.
Yep.
Read your labels. We're all going to buy some food that's got in a packet. Read the labels.
Yep.
There are quite a few online platforms now which offer food with no nasties in.
Yep.
And the number will proliferate. So we've all got access to that.
Yep.
You can decode some of the labels on foods by using a great app, Australian app called Chemical Maze.
Oh, right.
Tell you what the numbers are.
Yeah.
Avoid any food with a long list of additives, Shouldn't have more than half a dozen. And also avoid any food which your great-grandmother, I had to say great-grandmother because somebody picked me up the other day. Their grandmother was reared on fast food, so she's no great-grandmother. But your great-grandmother would not have recognised as a food.
Yeah. I love that one. And you said the numbers before, didn't you? Anything with numbers, just be wary.
Yes. Well, just not too many numbers. You can. Some of the numbers are okay, and you can use the chemical maze to work out which are okay.
Yeah. I love that chemical maze. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah. Cool.
Awesome. And be careful about how you cook,
Yep.
Careful about Teflon, be careful, all that stuff.
Oh, yeah, as in the cookware. Yeah. And also overcooking and vitamins, minerals out of your food.
It's like crap.
Yeah, just like, your great-grandmother used to make it grey and soggy. We no need to go there anymore. Crunchy is best.
No, she didn't. She was a good cook.
Oh, you were blessed.
She used to make me creme brulee every time I went.
No way. Oh, well, you were blessed. I had grey slodge. You couldn't tell what it was. Oh, it was so overcooked. It was disgusting. It fell apart.
Oh, dear. Yeah.
But anyway, Harry, I think, this is a really important topic to build some awareness about what it is that you're putting into your mouth and why you need to be aware about it.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
And
we'll put some links up under anywhere we put this with to the lists. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and I'll forward you these ones that I found and
Awesome.
your blog.
Good.
Okay.
Good. Okay. Well, what are we going to do next week, Sally?
Ooh, I think we were going to do some of the top mistakes people make.
We were, yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. I've been making a few mistakes this week, I can tell you.
I know. Oh, that's my middle name. Oh.
The slippery slope down to the game on the smartphone.
Oh, you make me laugh. Oh, I love you, Harry. All right, darling. So we'll catch you again next week. And
yeah, definitely. Keep warm.
Be good in the meantime.
Smell the blossom. Smell the blossom. Yeah.
I know. Don't sneeze too much. It's so beautiful. The magnolias are out. They are stunning. Stunning. I have to drive even slower to check them all out. They are so beautiful. So beautiful.
Yeah, we've got some magnolia next door. It peeps over the fence, so we get the benefit.
Divine. Beautiful. I love springtime.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, darling. I'll catch you next week then.
See you. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.